coming, where you would be guilty of your own thoughts and stuff. This is the kind of technology that's going to give them access to your mind. They can hear what you're thinking, hear what you're saying. And what I thought was really interesting was this whole concept of being able to mess with time. Because I happened to get something in my emails that was quite interesting. The usual what's up in the garbage New Age department. And they have kind of like a timeline thing on their own little agenda thing going. And what I'm talking about with the New Age department is actually those beings in the fourth dimension that are surrounding and controlling our Earth. And there's different groups of them. You have the Ascended Masters who all, they play like they're Ascended Masters. They're going to come as Jesus and Buddha, and it would include this Maitreya and Sananda that are coming. They're all from this group of people, this group of beings in the fourth dimension. And then you just have your outright evil ones, the Greys and Reptilians that control the New World Order. And of course, you'll see them in the White House with George Bush. Have a YouTube video at thewatcherfiles.com, my one site. You see Bush giving a press conference in front of the White House, and you see little Greys in the background in the windows. And they work outwardly with our government. To the Greys, the Lizards, the Reptilians, even the tall Greys. And so you have kind of like two different groups of these fourth dimension beings, groups in the fourth dimension, working with the factions here on Earth, because I've told you before, they're all fighting for control over who gets to establish the New World Order, who gets to run it, who gets to be the Fourth Reich. And so, it just goes on and on. But part of this, the reason that the Lord had led me into the New Age area of it years ago, was dealing with the alien aspect of it, the whole fallen angel aspect and control of the Earth, because that's Satan's realm more so. That's the one that I believe he's coming in on. I know some people believe Satan's going to come himself, and he can't do that according to what the Bible says. It contradicts what Revelation says, and so he can't come as his own person, as his own self. He has to work through either one of these New Age fourth dimension beings, or somebody like a human like Bush, somebody who's just, they would soul scalp, just take over their body. They'd kill the person and take over their body, pretty much like, Dick Cheney. Told you guys about him years ago. Been soul scalped a long time ago. And so this is pretty much how they operate, So we're just kind of looking at the factions. But what I thought interesting was still in this New Age agenda, this fourth dimension agenda, is that they plan on having a D-Day. I've told you about the D-Day, where Maitreya is going to arrive to Earth and take over the media and declare he's, come to help mankind. I don't think he's going to outwardly declare he's God. He just wants everybody to worship him as God. But some of the things happening before then, and William Cooper had also warned about it, was that there would be an event in our skies where Jupiter would become our second sun. And this was not only an Illuminati plan, it's also one of these New Age fourth dimension plans. To where they're planning on, one of their plans is to have where Jupiter becomes the second sun in our skies. And what this is supposed to do is supposed to mimic the Star of Bethlehem. Right before Christ was born, there was a star in the sky, it alerted the wise men he was born. You guys all know the story. So what this lighting up Jupiter as a second sun is supposed to mimic the Star of Bethlehem thing. Because right before this happens, right after that happens, the Antichrist would arrive here on Earth. And so they were going to signal his arrival or whatever with the second sun and blowing up Jupiter, or however they do it. I know they've tried before, practice runs, whatever, shooting nuclear bombs into it, see what it would do. So that's still an active part of their plans. Another thing about it is they call something coming up as the Big Sleep. And so I thought this was amusing. And I got these notes. It's on their website. They had a meeting in Vancouver, Canada in April of 2007. These events were supposed to happen last year. They were delayed, and so they'll happen this year. And so I found it funny, because I know full well that in March of 2007, we destroyed a huge just a huge part of their troops, of their whole squadron. And you guys remember the falling satellite bit from NASA of March of earlier this year? That was rather amusing. And I know we brought the Capricorn down then, and this Capricorn is a ship that holds all these fourth-dimensional beings on it, all these New Age beings. This Sananda, there's some Captain Helena, I think it is, and Soltec, and I have this whole picture of these groups, the Ashtar Command, on my website, SherryTalkRadio.com. The Ashtar Command inhabits this ship, this Capricorn. And that's what fell out of the skies, and a lot of them had died, and a few of these beings had barely escaped with their own lives. The main ones were allowed to escape alive because they have a purpose. The Lord's going to allow them to implement their strategies and agendas here on Earth. He's using them for His own purposes, just like He does Satan. And so they were allowed to live. But many of them did not. They were planning to shoot this thing out of the sky if they had to, because it had malfunctioned, it was falling out of space, and they didn't want people on Earth to see it. And so they were fully prepared to just totally blast this thing to smithereens if they had to keep anybody on Earth from seeing this thing coming out of space. And it's pretty much the same thing we're seeing now with all these UFOs crashing out of the skies. They're calling them, I saw a light meteor shoot across the Earth. A lot of people describing them as meteors. They're frankly UFOs. They are crashing out of the skies, and we're doing that because of the orgone energy we've been blasting into the atmosphere for the last 5 to 6 years. Of course, they're not going to give us credit for our own part of the war, but that's all right. Everything's always in the background. There's always wars in the background. This is one of them, and us just fighting to keep them out of here and destroy them as much as possible. We're taking out as many of their troops as possible. So I find it interesting that they have this whole thing called the Big Sleep. That's part of their agenda. And it pretty much mimics a rapture or a resurrection. I'm going to read what they state about it, because it's right on their website. It's a period when humanity and Mother Earth will go into stasis, a period of involuntary hibernation, so that the celestials can clean up. And they call themselves celestials. And I've told you on the show before that there's only 2 types of beings in our atmosphere, terrestrial and celestial. The celestial beings, if they were celestial, they would be in heaven with the Lord and the Most High. Terrestrial beings live in the outer planet areas and stars. Those are the fallen angels, the evil scumbags that reside with Satan and try to rule over the earth with Satan. And so they want mankind to think they're celestials, that they're ascended beings. And it's this whole part of the fourth dimension beings I've been talking about. So this is what they plan to do. The Earth's going to go into an involuntary hibernation, which means it's something that they're going to force on Earth, so that the celestials can clean it up. It will affect fauna and flora as well as humans, and the electrons will also cease to move, meaning electricity and electronics will be put on hold. This event has been brought forward as removal of the Illuminati had to be carried out as a priority before the announcement. They will be taken off-planet to many destinations where they may experience the void or relive Stone Age conditions. Some will be uncreated, some will finally decide to join the light. What I find is this is amusing. Their whole plan is to come in and say, supposedly put the Earth into a 3 to 6 week stasis, hibernation. Just everybody freezes, time stops. The only thing that would change is the weather. They're not, if it's in the summer, we'll go on to fall or whatever. The weather won't change.